Welcome to Relaxed Reddit Readings. Today we have 5 Reddit stories for you. Reddit stories that will make you say, "No way they did that." Story 1. I recorded my dad's face when I got into med school. So my dad spent my entire life telling me I wasn't smart enough to be a doctor, and I finally proved him wrong on camera. Let me back up. For as long as I can remember, my dad has been telling me I wasn't cut out for medicine. And I don't mean like, tough love, trying to motivate me kind of way. I mean he genuinely believed it and told me so, over and over. Not smart enough. Not focused enough. It's just not going to happen for you. He said it so many times that honestly, by the time I hit my early teens, I started to believe him too. That's the scary part. It gets into your head. But here's the thing about my dad, every single time I proved him wrong about something, he had some way to explain it away. Good grades. Oh, the teacher must be going easy on everyone. Got into a good program. Must have been a fluke, or they needed to fill a quota, or whatever excuse fit that day. It was exhausting. So when I found out I got into medical school, actual, real medical school, I just knew, that he was going to do it again. He was going to find some way to twist it, minimize it, or flat out deny that he ever doubted me in the first place. So I did something maybe a little sneaky. I set my phone up to record before I told him. I wanted proof. Not to embarrass him, not really, I just wanted a record of the moment because I had this gut feeling that later on he'd rewrite the story in his head, like he always does. And I told him. And for a split second, I saw this look on his face, this genuine, unguarded shock and I think maybe even pride. It was there for like 2 seconds. And then, just like clockwork, he started backpedaling. Started saying things like, well, it's a lot easier to get into schools these days, or are you sure it's a good program, not just any med school? Classic him. Exactly what I expected. So later, I showed him the video. Not to be cruel, but because I wanted him to see his own reaction, the real one, before he talked himself out of being proud of me. And that is when things got tense. He was furious that I recorded him without telling him. Said I violated his privacy, that I was trying to make him look bad, that it was manipulative of me to do that. My mom is kind of stuck in the middle now, and some family members think I crossed a line by secretly recording my own father, even in our own house, during a private conversation. Others think what he did to me for years, constantly tearing down my confidence and then denying it happened, that's the real problem here, and my recording was just me finally protecting myself from being gaslit about my own achievement. Honestly, I don't feel bad. I feel like I finally have proof of a moment that used to only exist in my memory, and my word against his. But now my dad's not speaking to me much, and it's put this weird tension over what should have been one of the best weeks of my life. So, am I the jerk for recording my dad's reaction because I knew he'd deny it later? Or is he the one who created this situation by never once, in my entire life, letting me feel like an accomplishment was actually mine? If you're enjoying these stories, hit that like button and let me know in the comments which story you relate to the most. Story 2. My dad parked his RV in the middle of my wedding venue. So my dad and stepmom have an RV parked literally in the middle of where I'm getting married in a few weeks, and now I'm wondering if I should just uninvite them from their own daughter's wedding. Let me explain how we got here. My partner and I are getting married on our own property. We've been planning this wedding for 17 months. 17 months. This isn't some last-minute backyard thing, this has been a huge project for us. Now, about a year ago, my dad and stepmom asked if they could park their RV on our land for a while. We said sure, figuring it would be temporary, and we even drew up a written agreement about how it would work, what the expectations were, all of that, because that's just how we operate. Well, that RV is still there. And it is parked directly in the middle of our ceremony area. The actual spot where we are supposed to say our vows. On top of that, they have been completely ignoring the agreement we made. They've been illegally dumping trash on the property. Their dogs run loose constantly, off the property too, which has caused problems with actual neighbors, not just us. It's been one violation after another, and every time we bring it up, it's excuses, or it just doesn't get fixed. We've asked, and asked, and asked them to move the RV before the wedding. We've reminded them how much time we have left. We've explained that we need that space clear for the ceremony we've been planning for almost a year and a half. And they keep dragging their feet, making excuses, acting like it's not a big deal, like we're overreacting for wanting our own wedding venue back for our own wedding. So now we're at the point where the wedding is only a few weeks away, and that RV is still sitting right in our ceremony spot like it owns the place. I am at my absolute limit. Part of me wants to just tell them, look, if you can't respect the one thing we've asked of you, the bare minimum, move your RV off my wedding altar, then maybe you don't get to be at the wedding at all. But then there's this other part of me that feels like, man, that is a nuclear option. This is my dad. This is going to blow up into a massive family situation, right before my wedding, which is supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life, not a battlefield over an RV and some dog poop and trash bags. My partner is furious, understandably, since it's our shared property and our shared vision getting trampled on repeatedly. And honestly, I keep going back and forth, am I overreacting because it's family and I should just find a workaround, or is this actually a completely reasonable line to draw? Because if someone can't respect a written agreement, on my own property, in the lead up to my wedding, what does that say about how they'll behave on the actual day itself? So would I be the jerk for uninviting my dad and stepmom from my own wedding over this? Or have they already made that decision for themselves by refusing to move an RV out of my ceremony space? Story 3. I told my future daughter-in-law her wedding dress was wrong for my son. So my future daughter-in-law asked me flat out whether my son would like her wedding dress, and I told her the truth, and now apparently that makes me the bad guy. Let me give you some background first. My son has been with his girlfriend for 6 years now. 6 years. And honestly, it has been pretty obvious to everyone around them, myself included, that she likes him a lot more than he likes her. I don't love how he's handled this relationship, for the record. I actually offered him a family ring so he could propose to her, and he turned it down, and told me to give it to his brother instead. Which, yeah, that tells you something about where his head is at. But that's a whole separate issue. Fast forward to now, they're engaged, weddings being planned, and my future daughter-in-law is completely obsessed with the idea of doing a first look on the wedding day, you know, that moment where the groom sees the bride in her dress for the first time and they capture the reaction. She took time off work, I took significant time off work too, to go dress shopping with her and her family last week. It was a whole event. She tried on dress after dress, and at some point, she looked right at me and asked me directly, "Do you think he's going to like this?" And I told her the truth. I said, honestly, I don't think this is really his style, but you should wear whatever makes you happy, this is your day too, not just about impressing him. I thought I was being kind, actually. I thought I was giving her permission to please herself instead of chasing his approval for once, because from what I've seen over 6 years, she spends a lot of energy trying to get validation from him that doesn't come easily. But she did not take it that way at all. She got really upset, said I ruined the moment for her, that I made her second-guess herself in front of her whole family during what was supposed to be this happy, exciting shopping trip. Her mom got involved too, and now apparently I'm the mother-in-law who criticized the wedding dress and made everything awkward. My son, when he heard about it, just kind of shrugged it off and said something like, well, she does dress kind of differently than what I'd pick, which, I mean, didn't exactly help my case, but also kind of proved my point. I keep replaying it in my head. I wasn't trying to insult her taste. I wasn't trying to tell her not to buy the dress. I was trying to tell her that she doesn't need his approval to feel beautiful on her wedding day, especially given everything I've quietly watched over the past 6 years. But now there's this frost between us, and I'm the villain of the dress shopping trip. So, am I the jerk for telling my future daughter-in-law the truth about what my son would probably think of her dress, even though I told her to wear it anyway if she loved it? Or should I have just smiled and lied to keep the peace? Story 4. I let a Verizon rep into my house and gave him the Wi-Fi password. So a Verizon salesman showed up at my door today, and by the end of the visit, he somehow had my Wi-Fi password, and now my husband is furious with me. Let me set the scene. I'm home, minding my own business, and there's a knock at the door. It's a Verizon rep, doing that door-to-door sales thing, and he starts telling me about this deal, how I could save on Wi-Fi and streaming, something like $90 a month cheaper than what we're currently paying with Xfinity. And okay, I'll admit it, I invited him inside to hear the whole pitch. In my defense, it genuinely sounded like a good deal at first. But here's the thing about me, and I know this about myself, I am incapable of saying no to a salesperson. Doesn't matter what it is, door-to-door guy, kiosk at the mall, phone scammer probably, if you have a pitch and a friendly voice, I will sit there nodding along like a bobblehead. So this guy comes in, we're chatting, and at some point the conversation just wanders. We start talking about cats. We talk about basketball, the NBA. We talk about both being foreigners, like we're just vibing, having a whole conversation that has nothing to do with internet service anymore. It felt very casual, very friendly, definitely not like a sales pitch anymore. But I was smart, okay, I want credit for this part, I did tell him up front, clearly, no decisions are being made today without me talking to my husband first. I made that very clear. Multiple times, actually. But then, somewhere in the middle of all this cat and basketball talk, he asked to see our current Wi-Fi setup, to check the speeds or compatibility or something technical like that. I don't totally remember the reasoning now that I'm replaying it. And I just gave him the password. Like, no hesitation. Wrote it down for him, or said it out loud, I don't even remember which, that's how not a big deal it felt in the moment. It wasn't until after he left that it actually hit me what I'd done. I let a random door-to-door salesman into my home, chatted with him for what was apparently a really long time about nothing related to the actual sale, and handed over the password to our home network. When I told my husband what happened, he was not thrilled, to put it mildly. He wasn't even mad about the possibility of switching providers, that part he was fine with discussing. What set him off was the Wi-Fi password thing. He kept asking, why would you give a stranger, a salesman you just met, access to our home network? Do you understand what someone could do with that? And honestly, when he put it that way, I felt pretty dumb. I wasn't thinking about security at all in the moment, I was just having a nice conversation with a nice guy who happened to be trying to sell me something. So now my husband thinks I need to be way more careful about letting strangers into the house and handing out sensitive information, and I'm sitting here trying to defend myself by saying nothing bad actually happened, it was just weirdly friendly small talk that got out of hand. So, am I the jerk here for giving out our Wi-Fi password to a Verizon rep, or is my husband overreacting about something that, in the end, was pretty harmless? Story 5. My sister called me out of nowhere to babysit and I said no. So my sister called me in a panic asking me to drop everything and babysit her daughter, and when I said no, apparently that makes me a terrible aunt. Let me explain the full situation because there's more to it than just me being lazy or difficult. I'm 20 years old. My sister, we'll call her Jessie, is 27, and she has a 6-year-old daughter, we'll call her Emma. Yesterday, Jessie had the day off work, she was home with Emma, everything was normal, and then around 1 in the afternoon she got a call. The coworker who was supposed to cover her shift had called out sick last minute. There was nobody else available to cover it, so Jessie suddenly had to rush into work with basically no notice at all. So she calls me, asking if I can come watch Emma so she doesn't have to bring her along or scramble for some other solution. And I told her no. Here's why. I'm chronically ill. This isn't a secret in my family, everyone knows about my condition, and it's not something that's convenient or predictable. Some days I'm okay-ish, and some days I genuinely cannot function well enough to take care of myself, let alone actively supervise a 6-year-old for an entire shift's worth of hours. And yesterday happened to be one of those bad days. I was dealing with symptoms that made it really hard for me to even get around my own apartment safely, let alone chase after a 6-year-old, keep her fed, keep her entertained, keep her safe. I told Jessie this. I explained that I wasn't in a state to take care of a kid responsibly that day, and that it wouldn't be fair to Emma or safe for either of us if something went wrong while I was struggling. But Jessie did not take this well at all. She was stressed, obviously, because she had a work emergency on her hands and needed a solution fast, and I think in that moment she just saw me as the easy answer, the sister who lives close by, who doesn't have kids of her own, who should be able to just help out in an emergency. She ended up having to figure something else out, I'm not entirely sure what, and now she's furious with me. She's telling other family members that I abandoned her in a crisis, that I could have pushed through for just a few hours, that family is supposed to help family, especially in emergencies like this. And now I'm getting messages from relatives asking why I couldn't just suck it up for one afternoon. But that's the thing people don't get about chronic illness, you can't just suck it up sometimes. It's not like being a little tired or a little busy. On my bad days, I physically and mentally cannot take on responsibility for another human being's safety, especially not a young child who needs constant attention. I feel guilty, I won't lie, because I know Jessie was in a genuinely tough spot and I do love my niece. But I also know that if I had pushed myself and something had gone wrong, if I'd had a flare-up while Emma was in my care, that would have been so much worse for everyone involved. So, am I the jerk for refusing to babysit my niece in an emergency because I wasn't physically able to safely take care of her that day? Or should family emergencies mean you push through no matter what state you're in? If you enjoyed these stories, drop a comment telling me which one was your favorite. And if you want more relaxed Reddit readings, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed these stories, like, comment and subscribe for more relaxed Reddit readings.